It had it all. It was the greatest ride, the thrill of a lifetime. Round and round it went, but where it stopped, who knew? Who knew who would claim the prize? It had it all. It had charging, snorting bulls in the ring, tamed by only those two who rode them, unable to sometimes tame themselves, unable to control what Lady Luck had in store for them. And it's Dan Ricciardo! He's got an engine failure! He's going to be out of the Bahrain Grand Prix then! So quickly went the ride that friends, rivals, teammates blurred into one, and that way madness lies. It had intrigue and infighting. It had a prancing horse and a champion hungry for more. There's nothing more to say, but grazie ragazzi, forza Ferrari. And it had those who simply would not lie down and told that they were not the chosen one. An amazing victory for Kimi Räikkönen from P18 to P1. It's 2 wins on the trot. It had the sunshine, of course, and had the storms when the cars danced, and only he who dared won. In the end then, Carlos Sainz getting his 2nd win in a row of Season 4. It had moments where the world turned sideways and the people held their breath, and then exhaled to breathe again. It had it all, this ride, this carousel of glamour and of glory. It had new race victors. Nico Hülkenberg then, getting his first ever victory in Formula 1 in the Renault Works team here, and a familiar name returning to the top with echoes of the past. The Renault Works car is just something else. It's on another planet at the moment in terms of dominance. And what do you do when this ride is nearly over? The greatest ride, the thrill of a lifetime. You take your seat. You soak in the moment. And get ready for one final ride. Welcome then to the finale of Season 4 of my F1 2018 career mode. What's up guys, R&D here, and welcome back to episode number 84 then for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix here. The finale and a title decider between Nico Hülkenberg, Kimi Räikkönen and myself, and that's just the Drivers' Championship. Constructors is also up for grabs between Scuderia Ferrari and the Renault Works outfit at Enstone. This is going to be a big episode, and it's been an amazing season really. Hopefully if you guys have followed along for the entirety of Season 4, you guys will know how topsy-turvy this season has been. Probably one of the closest, and I didn't think that was possible after last season, Season 3, when I had an all-season battle with Fernando Alonso as my teammate. Coming to Ferrari has been such a whirlwind of highs and lows here this season. Going into last episode, we were level on points with Nico Hülkenberg and Räikkönen, and now going into this, we trail Hülkenberg by 13 points, and Räikkönen trails Hülkenberg by 10. So you could say it's pretty much in Hülkenberg's hands today, and we really need a lot of fate and miracles to happen for either me and Räikkönen to win this thing. But you guys know me, as of late in F1 career modes, my motto is never say never. Anything is possible in the sport of Formula 1. That's why we kind of love it, and this is going to be quite an enthralling one. But going into Abu Dhabi then, Renault continue to still upgrade their car, along with McLaren as well. You can see they both overtake Red Bull now, so on paper, going into Abu Dhabi, Red Bull the 4th fastest car, so they've really dropped off. McLaren and Renault are the closest they've ever been to our car on the performance chart, so that's a pretty bad omen maybe. But like I said, I'm really crossing all my fingers and every single toe that this Ferrari car can turn up to Yas Marina and have that kind of switch on moment where the car just suits the circuit. We've had it plenty of time this season so far. Remember back to the Chinese Grand Prix, the British Grand Prix, the German Grand Prix, where the car just randomly worked wonders and was a lot faster than every other car, despite it not really showing any signs of that in the performance chart. Obviously, as of late, the last 5 episodes pretty much, the Renault has been the world beater, the most consistent car. But Abu Dhabi is a very different circuit to both Brazil, Mexico, USA, Japan, Russia, the list goes on. It's a very different circuit. These last 6 have been very unique rounds, so I've got to hope that the dice falls on us and this car can work very well. The biggest factor today is going to be tyre wear though, come the race time. But enough about the race. Firstly, you have to qualify obviously to set yourself up, so let's go into Saturday and see how we do. Straight to Q1. It's not going to be an issue for us, thankfully, to get through into Q2. Obviously, as you can see, both Renaults and Räikkönen get through, so I don't want any issues for anyone. I want this to be a fair fight, so nice to see everyone has got through without any kind of issues, although I hold my breath, because speaking of issues though, into Q2...
Okay, bear with us a few minutes. We're losing hydraulic pressure. There's a leak somewhere in the system. Sit tight for a bit.
So I was already feeling pretty tense about this weekend, 13 points behind the championship leader, and then that fault comes in at Q2, and the penny was dropping like, oh dear, is this going to be the classic case of a lack of luck for Ferrari here at the end of an F1 championship here? Is everything going to crumble and bottle? Thankfully for my sake, even after the fault was fixed and we had to sit out for a lot of time, there was still enough time to go set one flying lap. I say one because I tried to start a second, but you can see on the top right there, the timer runs out. I was P7 there at the moment. As the timer ran out, I went down to P9, and so I count myself very lucky, in fact, actually, to get through into the top 10 shootout just about there. You never know. Magnussen could have done something. Hartley there in the Toro Rosso not matching his teammate could have knocked me out there because Gasly made it in, so I can kind of breathe a sigh of relief there that I make it into the top 10 shootout. We do have two sets then of Hypersoft to use. That first set is going to be this set I actually went out on that second run in Q2, so there's a little bit of tyre wear already on this set, but at least gives me a bit of a banker lap pretty much to kind of set myself against on the delta time on the top right when we do our second flyer. So at the moment there, it's only Leclerc setting lap time. It's very early on in the session. I thought I'd go out early and set this time. At the moment, Sainz then goes faster than the session. Obviously, I expect the Renaults to be good, but I'm hoping we can try and match them a bit better around this weekend. We go across the line. We're at the moment provisional pole position ahead of Carlos Sainz and Ricciardo, so that's good news, but Hülkenberg and Raikkonen yet to set a lap time. And so as we go on to the very end of the session, our second and only last flying lap in Q3, then Raikkonen has gone faster than me, and Hülkenberg at the moment is on provisional pole with Fernando Alonso, I believe, in second place. We're P4 ahead of Sainz though still, but we've gained some time in that first sector. We're going to go up to an overtake mode on the straight just to get any little bit of advantage we can on this flying lap. We go to overtake mode. I don't even know it will make much of a difference at the end, but we come through to the last corner across the line, and it's going to be pole position for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. I think literally my only fifth pole in my F1 career mode so far on this game, and it's come at the most crucial time here. And look at that. Look how close that qualifying was between myself, Hülkenberg there. You can't get it any closer, really. You couldn't wish for anything closer between two championship rivals. Raikkonen does well to outqualify Sainz, so both us Ferrari cars outqualified a respective Renault there. Fernando Alonso is a bit of a spanner in the works in third place. So I've done half the job today. Now let's go to Sunday to the starting grid and see if there's any penalties to throw one last bit of drama into this episode, and then we'll go to the race.
So here we are, ready to go racing for one final time this year. Another season of victories, controversies and rivalries lies in our wake. And just one challenge remains here in the United Arab Emirates on a circuit that made its spectacular debut back in 2009. Welcome to the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Yas Marina Circuit then, a 3.4-mile racetrack built on the entirely man-made Yas Island. It features 21 corners and two very long straights. These are our main overtaking chances today, with DRS assistance of course, and that action will take place into turn 8 and turn 11. Anthony Davidson joins me again for the race today. Let's talk about the engineer. That was a solid result in their last race. Can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
It's always nice to come into a Grand Prix weekend on a high, but your expectations are based much more on your practice and qualifying runs. So it's the momentum from those sessions that they'll be hoping to carry into the race today.
Well then, after an exciting qualifying session yesterday, let's take a look at how the cars line up. The engineer lines up on pole position, with Nico Hülkenberg alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Alonso, Raikkonen, Carlos Sainz, and Gasly, Verstappen, Leclerc, Magnussen, and Marcus Ericsson, Ocon, Hartley, Lewis Hamilton, and Grosjean, Ricciardo, Bottas, Stoffel Van Dorn. They've taken a grid penalty, and Sergei Sorokin, Stroll, and Sergio Perez rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
So thankfully for a fair fight, there are no grid penalties for either myself, Hülkenberg, Carlos Sainz, or Raikkonen, or Fernando Alonso there. It is all stays put as it was in Q3, and that's really nice to see. So it is going to be a fair fight at the start and for the rest of this Grand Prix. Obviously, there's always the chance of a pesky DNF here and there. Let's see. It's not out of the question. It has happened before, way back on F1 2017. I did win a championship by my AI rival retiring from the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. So let's see. But I mentioned that spanner of the works, Fernando Alonso. Alonso. And remember, I've got to pray that we have enough spanner in the works, because I need Hulkenberg to be pushed down to P5. Even if I win the Grand Prix and Hulkenberg was to come 4th place, we would tie on points. 3rd place, he'd win the championship. 2nd place, he'd win the championship. I need him to come at least 5th place to guarantee a win the championship, because if he came 4th and we tied on points, it would probably go down to wins, and I think at that stage we have the equal number of wins if I was to win here at Abu Dhabi, because I think we would have 4 wins apiece then, so I don't know how it would go down then. So basically what we're aiming for in the race is for him to come in P5 and for me to win the race. That is what I need to do to win this championship. It's a big ask, because I haven't had a win in a long time here this season. My last win was all the way at the Italian Grand Prix, and the Renault's like mighty fast, but all we can do now is focus on our own race, especially at the race start. It's all just about what I'm doing, not what everyone else is doing. Obviously there's a time and a place then to worry about where everyone else is, but the first kind of half of this race, I've just got to focus on doing the best job I can. So strategy wise, it's going to be a 2-stop Hypersoft to 2 sets of ultra soft tyres. Tyre wear is going to be very crucial today, but from first place, if we can keep first into turn 1, it's going to be, you know, a handy thing to kind of be able to control the race pace from there and try and protect our tyres. But that's the strategy. Obviously filling up on fuel for a little bit, but there's not much else to say really. Here we go then. It's been a really enthralling, exciting, and such a long season 4 with how many ups and downs we've had. But it's now time for this, the final bout, the final race, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Will it be Nico Hulkenberg, Kimi Räikkönen, or myself winning the World Championship in Season 4 of F1 2018 Career Mode? Let's find out as we go to 5 red lights then for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Lights out, and away we go off pole position. We're going to cut across Hulkenberg's racing line then to cover off the inside. Fernando Alonso with a good getaway in P3. He's up, he's side by side with Hulkenberg through turns 1 and 2. Will he get up into 2nd place? That'll be crucial for us. No, Hulkenberg's still there in P2, but Fernando Alonso comes back then. So my old teammate helping me out there in Sector 1. They're still neck and neck as we just take a commanding lead and control this race now, hopefully to the first pit stop there. But Alonso and Hulkenberg still at it side by side. Räikkönen a close 4th place there ahead of Carlos Sainz, who's side by side with Pierre Gasly, the Toro Rosso. So both Renaults being attacked at the moment there. Alonso pulls the left-hand side. Räikkönen in the slipstream there as well. But meanwhile, it's all calm in our world. Take the apex nice and easy then into the chicane in first place. Meanwhile, behind us, still scrapping away is Hulkenberg v Alonso. But Alonso has the advantage, and the Spaniard looks like he's got P2 there. Can Räikkönen maybe do anything? Remember, Räikkönen's also in this title fight, so he's going to have a little look at Hulkenberg. He has actually a better chance today, Kimi does, at taking Hulkenberg off for the championship than I do. But at the moment, Kimi is behind Hulkenberg, not where he needs to be in P4, but Hulkenberg's down to P3, so that's one place better from his P2 that he started off in, but I need him to go down 2 further positions. Meanwhile, Sainz has been overtaken by Pierre Gasly in the Toro Rosso car, so that might mean quite a lot then for this first stint later on. We'll have to see, but as we check in now, a couple laps later, I think it was lap 4, and Hulkenberg is now trying to re-overtake Alonso. Alonso's done a great job in P2. I've done a pretty good job, if I do say so myself, to control this first stint in first place there, and Alonso's doing me a real solid by keeping Hulkenberg at bay, so he's still P3. You can see the gap is pretty healthy to Alonso there, and we're going to do pretty much the perfect first stint and control this all the way to our first pit stop on lap 6. A little bit earlier than everyone else, because Alonso, Hulkenberg, Räikkönen and Sainz all stay out for one more lap at least, but we're going to come in for an undercut here. It could be quite powerful depending on if we get caught up in traffic after our pit stop here, but I know those Hypersofts, for me personally, weren't going to go any longer. So nice and easy pit stop, no one in the pit lane to hold us up, so that's pretty much the perfect first stint we could have hoped for there. So at the moment, I'm doing all I can. Like I said, at this stage, even now, all the way to halfway through the Grand Prix, I just got to focus on what I'm doing, and later on in the last third, I'll start to worry about where everyone else is. Right now, I just do the maximum I can and try and get back into first place after everyone else makes their pit stop. So right now, we come out ahead of Valtteri Bottas behind Sergio Perez, who might cause us issues in the last sector. We'll have to see, but Alonso now is coming in on that next lap. Hulkenberg, Räikkönen all stay out. Sainz is in, so Hulkenberg and Räikkönen stay out then. Interesting. So Sainz, the 2 Spaniards basically are in, and so we'll see if the overcut for these guys guys are going to work out for them. But now as Alonso and Sainz are in the pit lane, we're through the last 2 corners. We caught up to Sergio Perez at pretty much the worst point in the entire circuit there. Through the last corner, Perez is going to hold us up even more as Alonso exits his pit box and goes down to the very unique pit lane exit here at Abu Dhabi. Meanwhile, down the inside of Sergio Perez we go. There is Alonso's name tag there. He's underneath us, and so we come through. Will Alonso get that? I think he will. Yes, Fernando Alonso has jumped us then with a 1-lap undercut, and I think it would have been a good undercut for us if it weren't for Sergio Perez. So, like I said, he's going to be the only thorn in our side there. So we're right up the chuff of Alonso, though. That's the only good thing, that maybe I can hopefully overtake Alonso straight away. But right now, that's not great for me. Alonso's ahead of me. At least it's not Hülkenberg, but Alonso's still worse enough because we know how good Alonso can be in some clean air. So let's see. But there's a battle brewing between Ricciardo, the Mercedes, and Ocon there. They go nearly 3 wide. So many cars now close together. These 3, and then Alonso and myself. Ricciardo overtakes Ocon there. You got Hamilton caught up in that as well. Those guys going a little bit longer in the first stints. Now we're side by side with Alonso. We tried to get him to the chicane. Didn't quite work out. Both of us have DRS, so we're neck and neck now into the next brake zone there. It's a lock up from Fernando. When we just get down the inside, it's side by side between us former McLaren teammates there, and Alonso's really not doing me any favours now in this Grand Prix after initially overtaking Hülkenberg in the first lap there, but we do get past him eventually down the inside. Now we'll chase after Hamilton and that pack with Ricciardo and Ocon, and as we do that, meanwhile live, this is Hülkenberg, Raikkonen are into the pit lane then, so they've gone 2 laps longer, but obviously we've been hit with so much traffic. I'm curious to see where we're going to end up, but we're going to send one down the inside. Our fellow Brit Hamilton, he's definitely not also doing me any favours here of helping a fellow Brit maybe go to a championship here as we go through the last corner, then right up the gearbox of Ocon, and there is Raikkonen, and Raikkonen has actually jumped Nico Hülkenberg in the pit lane. Fantastic stuff there by my teammate as we go down the inside of Esteban Ocon. Then Raikkonen emerges ahead of me. So Raikkonen has just overtaken 3 people in the pit stop phases. He's overtaken myself, Hülkenberg, and Alonso in one pit stop there. Absolutely crazy stuff there for the Iceman. And so what did I say? He probably has a better chance to get the championship than I do against Hülkenberg this race, and he's done a fabulous job there, and he's come out ahead of all of us. So crazy stuff, and so I'm hoping maybe this is not another case of Raikkonen taking that Ferrari car to heights I could never do, a la like the British Grand Prix or German Grand Prix. Let's see about it as we're going to try and attack him now into lap 10 on the outside of turn 1. Round the outside we'll go. It's going to be a fantastic scrap there, and we're just about going to pull through by an absolute inch there. Raikkonen lifts off, and we get back up into what effectively is going to be the race lead, and Hülkenberg is now going to be right up the gearbox of Raikkonen, and in all of this, Alonso is really the biggest loser because he's gone from what was a net 2nd place to a net P4 then in this Grand Prix, with Raikkonen behind me and Hülkenberg behind him. But this fight with my teammates is by no means over because he's going to have DRS now on this back straight. So let's watch what Raikkonen does. Does he go to the inside or outside? We're going to give him the only option of going to the outside because we'll pull to defend the inside line. There he goes on the outside there. We're going to try and force him a little bit wide, but then we brake early, turn in real early to that apex on the right, let him go on purpose because we straighten the car faster than he could, get the power down earlier than he could, open DRS, ERS on overtake mode, rich mix going. We'll pull to the right as we spark away. We're going to try and make the move for P4 on the road around the outside, but Raikkonen really good in the brakes, and so we're still neck and neck through the chicane. He bumps us a little bit off circuit there, and we pull it through in P4, so that was a little bit iffy, but Raikkonen was the one that tapped us wide, so that's fair enough, and we're back up into P4. Raikkonen P5 slots in right behind, but he's so close, we're going to have to actually break the toe here. Now on lap 11, we're really aggressively on the left trying to break the toe, but Raikkonen follows us through, and again, we find ourselves on the inside. He's on the outside, but this time we do a real big lunge to that chicane and really go deep to make sure we keep that position, but in doing so, Hülkenberg gets the overtake then on Raikkonen, so whilst defending my teammate, I've effectively helped Hülkenberg there, because now he's ahead of Raikkonen in an effective net P2, if you kind of catch my drift, because everyone else ahead of us will eventually pit. You've got, I think, the 2 Haas cars and the Sauber of Marcus Ericsson, I think, are the cars ahead of us, so it's Hülkenberg now that is directly behind me then Raikkonen, then Fernando Alonso with a Toro Rosso close behind him. So as we move on to lap 13 then, we're up into P2. Magnussen, the only one yet to pit, so you can see what I mean then. We're going to be leading this Grand Prix. Hülkenberg will be in P2, and that's not what I need. Like I said at the very start of this episode and the start of the race, Hülkenberg needs to be in P5 for me to win this race categorically if I win this Grand Prix. Even if he comes in 4th place, there's a bit of an iffy question, because then we'll be on level points and level wins this season. So I need him to be in 5th place for me to actually win this championship fair and square. As we move on through this stint, then Raikkonen maybe trying to help that, or his own championship hunt, as he tries to make a move on Hulkenberg, but cuts across at the wrong time in the brake zone. And I think that was a tiny bit of black carbon fiber flicked off his front wing. I think he's got some damage there. Maybe as we go a little bit closer, yes, he's got damage on his front left, so that might just be Raikkonen's championship hopes dashed away in this Grand Prix then. Meanwhile, you've got Carlos Sainz around the outside of the Red Bull Verstappen there in the chicane, trying to get back through this Grand Prix. It's a very slow start to this race. Actually got caught up there, obviously, in the first stint down in P5, and in the pit stop phase found himself behind both Alonso, Verstappen and Raikkonen, but now he's going to force his way through up into P3 now. A really nice move, actually, really aggressive on Raikkonen there, who's still battling through with that front wing damage. Looks like Alonso has gone for an early pit stop then, so a major undercut. I suspect Alonso's probably gone to super soft tyres for a very long last stint, so we'll see and have to catch up with Alonso and see how that goes for him. But so in the meanwhile, Raikkonen still trying to limp through this race and defend 3rd place there, but in the end it's going to be inevitable. Sainz up into P3, so it's a 2-3 for Renault, and so it's a pretty bad sight for me of 2 yellow machines in my mirrors, and we know the Renaults in the last 5 episodes have been so quick, so I don't know how long we can keep them at bay. We're going to at least do it until lap 17 when we come in for our pit stop then, so at least the first 2/3 of this race have gone very well for us in terms of our actual individual race pace, but still now it's kind of towards the last third, so let's focus on the championship then a little bit and start to worry, because at this stage I don't know how this is going to work. Hulkenberg is still there in P2. He's now being backed up by his rear gunner Carlos Sainz, who's come in for a pit stop with me, so I'm crossing my fingers that Carlos Sainz can get an undercut on Hulkenberg and he can be in P2, pushing down Hulkenberg to P3. But apart from that, still P3 is not good enough for me. Hulkenberg needs to be down in P5, so I just don't know how this is going to work. And as we come out of the pit lane, Alonso is ahead of me and Sainz. He's done the biggest undercut I've ever seen in the F1 game there. He pit like 3-4 laps earlier than us. He's on super softs there, to be fair, so we might be able to catch up to him quite quickly. But Alonso with an inspired undercut strategy there to go very early in that second pit stop there, and so he's now ahead of us. So can we try and overtake the Spaniard here and hopefully not get held up too much, because remember, Hulkenberg is still going round this circuit. He's probably going to pit this lap, I would say, with Raikkonen and Verstappen there, so we need to make sure we don't lose too much time behind Alonso. But ideally, if Hulkenberg can come out behind Sainz, I can overtake Alonso, then effectively we will have 2 cars between myself and Hulkenberg, and so he'll at least be P4, I think, in the order. Let's see about that. I might be confusing some of you in the commentary with all these permutations, but honestly, whilst I'm racing now, this was what was going through my mind. Literally, my mind was at 100 miles per hour, just flicking through all the permutations of this race in this last third. You know, forget all the focusing on me getting P1. I was now starting to panic about, okay, are we going to get this? How's everything going to shake up? Because effectively now, because I have done my job, and I'm going to be in first place hopefully by the end of the Grand Prix, by the time everyone shuffles out, it's out of my hands now. It's all down to fate in terms of, you know, once I get past hopefully Alonso right here on this lap, it will just be down to fate, and it's completely up to what Hulkenberg and everyone else does, because I can't control them. I can maybe try and back them up a little bit, a la kind of remember Lewis Hamilton in 2016 when he tried to back Rosberg into Vettel for most of the last third of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. I can maybe try that with Alonso and Sainz, but there's only so much that will work, and so now here we go for a very bold move on Alonso here. And Alonso, remember, he's not fighting the championship, he's just fighting for a win, and so he does a really nice move there to keep it ahead. We're kind of doing a Rosberg on Verstappen almost there as we try to pin him in and then get a better straight line speed there for the second part of the straight. Here we go now around the outside, just like I did to Kimi Raikkonen there. Can we get this through? Yes, we will, and we are now up into what is going to be P4 on the road, but by the time we come through, hopefully it will be P1, and by come through I mean at the moment the one that's leading the Grand Prix is Marcus Ericsson, the Sauber, followed by the 2 Haas cars of Magnussen and Grosjean on the road. So all 3 of these guys are doing a 1-stop here, and so they're going to the end of the Grand Prix. So this is going to be very intriguing, because at the moment it's me, Alonso, Sainz, Hulkenberg. So 2 cars between me and Hulkenberg. That's not good enough, but now that all of us will have to get through both Haas cars and the Sauber of Ericsson, there is a slight chance that at some point Hulkenberg gets caught up enough by the end of this race that he comes through in P5 and I can be in P1. That is my only hope now, is these kind of effective slower cars that are in our way for P1 if they can hold up Hulkenberg a treat at some point, that will be my only kind of hope. That is what I'm pinning my entire hope on now on this championship. And they're all Ferrari-powered cars, so let's pray a little bit that they're a little bit kind to me and a little bit less so to Renault. Speaking of Renault, though, as we catch up to those top 3 cars, Carlos Sainz going to fancy a move on Alonso here, so this doesn't worry me a little bit at the moment because, you know, these two swap positions, that's fine by me. It's really just the other third car behind them, so these guys scrap enough, Hulkenberg might come in, so that will be when it gets a little bit worrying. But Sainz is through past Alonso, but Alonso will come back now surely with slipstream there. I don't know who has DRS, I think Alonso does, and as he powers past, as well as Hulkenberg now, so now this is worrying. Hulkenberg is through and past Sainz, but Sainz dives him back now round the outside. Who's going to get it? Alonso to the inside. Hulkenberg though fights hammer and tong, and it looks like Sainz really isn't being lenient to his only teammate who's in the championship. Remember, Sainz isn't in the championship fights, but thankfully for me, looks like Sainz is trying to fight his teammate as hard as he can, but Hulkenberg is through and he's up past Sainz, and so that's not good news for me, and this is even worse news for me. Hulkenberg round the outside to the inside of Alonso, and he's going to try and force him off circuit. Alonso comes back and slams into the side. These guys are having a real war behind me, and they're all trying to help me in a kind of way. Obviously, they're not actually, but it kind of looks like it. But Hulkenberg's through. Will Alonso please slipstream back, as well as Carlos Sainz as well? It's all so close. Look at that, nearly 3 wide as Sainz tries to go around the outside. Hulkenberg with a big bold brake zone there. Sainz, though, round the outside. He's overtaken Alonso already, and he's down the inside of Hulkenberg to maybe get the 2-piece now on this lap. Can he do it? I don't think he can. He'll have the DRS, second bite of the cherry now with DRS down the inside. There we go. On the inside, he's got it. Sainz is back. Thank God for that. And so Hulkenberg, Hulkenberg's been overtaken by Alonso. Is he feeling the pressure? Is Hulkenberg bottling this? Is he feeling the championship nerves? Alonso down the inside, and Hulkenberg goes from overtaking 2 cars to being overtaken by 2 cars. It's amazing here. It's all on a knife edge, and Verstappen is right behind Hulkenberg as well. So could that just be it? Could that be Hulkenberg finally feeling the pressure of a championship? Remember, I've already won 2 championships in my career. Hulkenberg is yet to do so. It's his first season where he's even won a Grand Prix, so could he be feeling the jitters now at Abu Dhabi? As we move on to lap 22, finally on the back of Romeo Grosjean then for a move round the outside. To turn 1, he's locked up and he's hit us, and Grosjean nearly slammed us out the Grand Prix there maybe, into the wall. I had a momentary flashback to the Mexican Grand Prix where Grosjean took us out at lap 1, and so that was literally a heart and mouth moment there. My championship flashed before my eyes in a way there into turn 1. We get past him thankfully off circuit, but that's kind of fair enough because Grosjean pushed us wide. And so for the second time now this season, and the second time in 3 races, I'm left scratching my head, and what on earth? Grosjean is smoking in these races there. But now later on that same lap, we've got Hulkenberg overtaking Alonso, or trying to, because Alonso dives it around the outside to try and keep that position. Verstappen and Gasly right up their gearboxes as well. So maybe this becomes a 4-way fight. That'll be quite crazy. As meanwhile, Carlos Sainz overtakes Grosjean there for 4th place in this race at the moment. Remember, Magnussen and Ericsson still lead the way. So that's why we're down the order a little bit from where we were initially, as Hulkenberg locks up big time. And Verstappen comes through. So Hulkenberg's overtaken Alonso, but now Verstappen is the one attacking the German, and so the Dutchman down the inside there, he's not in the championship fight anymore due to the Red Bull just reliability issues and the consistency or lack thereof of consistency of the Red Bull team. But Hulkenberg now goes side by side and the double long right-hander with Verstappen, and he really has some balls of steel there to keep it on the inside of Verstappen there, and he's able to keep that position, and now he can waltz away with some clean air to chase after Romeo Grosjean. So maybe Hulkenberg had a few little jitters for a few laps, but now they're calmed down, and now he's settling down into a groove as he chases after that Haas car, as we do the same to the second one of Kevin Magnussen. So lap 23 now, so it's Ericsson for Magnussen, myself, Carlos Sainz, Hulkenberg, Alonso, Verstappen there, and so we've only got 5 laps left in this Grand Prix. It's all to play for. If we can get past Magnussen and Ericsson, and then I've got to pray that even if Carlos Sainz gets past them, maybe, look at the minimap, hopefully that's enough of a gap to Hulkenberg that Hulkenberg can't get past these 2 by the end of the Grand Prix. As we send one now down the inside of our former teammate there from seasons 1 and 2, and we're up into 2nd place now. We'll chase after Marcus Ericsson in the Sauber, who quite spectacularly so far has been leading the Grand Prix now for about 15 laps here in this race. Quite a crazy strategy for the Swede, but it's worked out for him nonetheless. But we're going to catch up quite rapidly in Sector 3. But at the moment now, Ericsson, myself, Magnussen, Sainz, looking at the mini-map there's still a decent gap from Sainz to Hulkenberg. So I've got to hope that once I can get past Ericsson here, maybe, just maybe, Hulkenberg doesn't have enough time in this Grand Prix to catch up to both Ericsson and Magnussen to overtake them for P3, and he can maybe finish in P5, and that would be our championship sealed as we now go for a very tasty move round the outside of Marcus Ericsson for P1 in this Grand Prix. That is a way you overtake for the lead of a race there in Formula 1, up into first place, and now it really is completely out of my hand. It is all down to now what Hulkenberg can do and what everyone else can do ahead of Hulkenberg as Carlos Sainz overtakes Magnussen then up into P3 of this Grand Prix. Meanwhile, Hulkenberg is gaining on Magnussen pretty fast. He's already got past Romain Grosjean, I believe, at the hairpin there, and Grosjean now finds himself battling Verstappen behind. Alonso's really fallen off this race then. So as it stands now, Hulkenberg is in P5, I'm in P1, and so this would be enough for me to win the Drivers' World Championship here, but there's 4 laps left in this Grand Prix, and that Renault should have the pace to catch up to that Haas as Sainz now catches the Sauber down the inside of turn 1. It's going to be a lovely move into P2 of this Grand Prix, and look at that in the background there. Hulkenberg is now right up the gearbox of Magnussen and can now also see Ericsson in the distance as well, so this is probably not going to be what I want to watch, but here goes Hulkenberg now around the outside. Maybe no, Magnussen defends really well. There goes Magnussen with a great bit of defensive driving to park the car mid-apex here, and so this is literally maybe my championship live going into disarray because Hulkenberg will now have DRS. Surely there's no way he doesn't overtake Magnussen and maybe even Ericsson on this next lap. Here he goes now. The German pulls to the left-hand side, down the inside of the Dane in the American Haas car, and he's got it up into now what is P4, and now he'll chase after P3, Marcus Ericsson. So if it were to end like this, we would be level on points in the championship, but it's not over yet for the German. Here he goes now with DRS, ERS down the inside, and he's up and past Marcus Ericsson. Big lock up there, but Hulkenberg drives up into 3rd place, and so that is going to be him up into 1st place of the championship once more on the live standings there, and I pretty much can't do anything now. I can maybe try and back up the entire train of Sainz and Hulkenberg into Ericsson, but I don't think there's any hope in hell that Ericsson's going to overtake Hulkenberg, let alone maybe Magnussen also doing the same thing. And actually, by the time we get to the last lap of the Grand Prix, Carlos Sainz is going to attack me there, so you can clearly see still the Renault power is still very strong. They have a lot of pace. It's been a fabulous, amazing drive for me, if I do say so myself, to even keep this in 1st place here for the win at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. But now, pretty much that is it. I can't do much else. I'm kind of pretty much like Lewis Hamilton was in 2016 versus Nico Rosberg. I can't do anything. I can just drive to the line in 1st place. I can drive as slow as I want. It's not going to help. Nico Hulkenberg, though, to be fair, it's really fitting that he actually drove and actively overtook a car for 3rd place to seal his championship. Really nice moment for him. And so I'm going to come through the last 2 corners then to take my 4th win for Ferrari this season. I'm proud of the drive I've done this year. I'm proud of my team this season. And so for the final time this season, I'll say grazie ragazzi, forza Ferrari. But it's not enough. Nico Hulkenberg will take the Drivers' World Championship here in Season 4.
And so the celebrations begin, and well earned they are indeed. It may have looked simple at times, but as any racing driver will tell you, competing at this level, at the very top, is anything but simple. There's no catching them now then. We have a new World Drivers' Champion. Great effort there from Ferrari to take the victory today. Anthony, what do you think made the difference here?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
What an intense race. What an intense race. Those last 8 laps, where the moment where Hulkenberg bottled it for a split lap, went down 2 places, but then came back fighting like a true champion and came back to P3. It's GG's to him. He's done a fabulous job. It's been such an enjoyable championship fight. I can't say I'm not gutted, because I am gutted. We came so close. We lost by 3 points to Hulkenberg for the championship, so it's a big gutting moment. But like I said, I am proud of the season I've driven against adversity. You know, the spins at Mexico, the Spanish Grand Prix, the wacky races like the British Grand Prix, the German Grand Prix. There have been so many lows this season, then so many highs I've had to come back and pull this car up through, and I'm very proud of the season we did, and I'm proud of my team Ferrari really put on a good fight there. And you know what, at the end of the day, we have won the Constructors' Championship. You know that much. Me and Kimi have done a great job, great partnership here. And so we've won the championship for Ferrari. So, you know, we might have not won the Drivers' Championship, but all the money is in the Constructors, remember. So we've done Maranello proud. We brought home the championship for Ferrari there. We bring back the trophy to Maranello. So it's GG's to us as well. And we've done a great job. I can be proud of that, at least, that we've won the Constructors for Scuderia Ferrari. It's been an absolute pleasure to see how many of you guys have been really enjoying me driving for Ferrari and bring some glory to this team somewhat. Obviously, I couldn't do the double, the drivers and the constructors, but we did the constructors at least. It looks like I'll just have to go to next season. We'll have to come back fighting even harder. It could be an even closer season next year. We're not much of an R&D reset in terms of the regulation changes, but you know what? That was one hell of a finale race. I was so tense. I was sweating buckets in the last third, just trying to think about the permutations in that Grand Prix. At one point, we did have the championship, but it just wasn't meant to be. It just wasn't meant to be. Hulkenberg's won it. He's won his first championship. So we remain a double world champion still going into next season, Season 5.
I think seeing as it's the end of the season, now is a good time to talk about your less than ideal record this year. My job is to negotiate on your behalf, but you're not giving me much to work with here. Plus, this isn't exactly doing my career any good. So I need you to shape up. For both our sakes.
So, despite winning the Constructors' Championship, Claire, my PR agent, said that she was a little bit disappointed by the results this season, the performance. I want to say I totally don't agree with her. I think she's way out of whack. I think I've done a great job considering all things that happened to me in this season with the spins, the crashes, and all the incidents, and you know, just the circumstances of this car that's been so wish-washy. You know, one race it's great, one race it's not, and so one race is great, one race it's not. So I think, including all of that in context, I think personally I've done a great job for the team, but she didn't think so, and the team have been a little bit, you know, short with me. So we're going to have to probably accept a bit of a shorter contract as a second driver going into next season with a few less perks, unfortunately. But I will be re-signing for Ferrari because I still haven't done the job I wanted to do coming into the Scuderia, is to win a Drivers' Championship for Ferrari. So we haven't done that. We won the Constructors, so next season we have a chance to get a double on the trot Constructors Championship and finally maybe try and take a Drivers' Championship for the team. But you know, Season 4, I thought it couldn't get better than Season 1 and 2. It got better in Season 3, and then I didn't think Season 3 could be topped. It has done. Season 4, what a season of vanilla F1 2018 career mode, guys. If you guys have enjoyed not only this episode, but the entire season, be sure to smash the like button, guys. If you could try and aim for over 2,000 likes, that'd be absolutely awesome, guys, in this final episode of Season 4. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, do get subscribed for weekly full-on content. I've been aarava. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.